wherever you want. It doesn't really matter.
If we can have your attention in the barn, we're about to start the preview. We've got the first 10 lots up here. We don't see a lot of people in the stands or in this area to be previewed, but it will be online. Just want to make sure the barn is aware we're about to do the preview of today's sale. What you might want to do is stand out here with me.
Yeah, he said me and him supposed to talk him essentially.
Yep.
Okay. So what do you want us to?
Just kind of but know that Taylor and the crew you're actually being heard online, right?
I'm sorry.
Are you heard online from this microphone?
Yeah, I assume that's all streaming. I'll make sure and confirm with Taylor. This will be hooked to your screen.
So they're down here talking. People can hear.
We can
sit down there. Y'all can sit over here
get
and talk
behind
home.
the camera is probably the best bet.
Okay.
And then we
don't
can
wanna
see
be,
them.
just pass it back and forth.
Okay. Yeah, we can just swap.
So I'm going to let you kind of take over and introduce yourself to the online people and people here.
Yep.
What you and Brett are going to be doing.
Okay.
And
Well, good morning, everyone, and certainly a privilege to be here with you this morning in San Antonio. We got a gorgeous morning and got an outstanding set of Crossbred Gilts we're going to bring to you in the preview this morning. And again, I want to introduce myself. My name's Dave Mullins, and certainly want to thank the folks here on the committee, the sale committee, and Brian Ferris for allowing me to come down and work with Justin on the sale and then serve as your auctioneer today. And we're going to bring you these Gilts, and certainly privileged good friend of mine who did an outstanding job sorting through these Gilts yesterday, Mr. Brett Byers from Illinois, and a tremendous set of females that we're going to bring to you in preview here online. And for those of you in the barn that'd like to participate, just feel free to grab a seat here in the stands and join us as we go right through these Gilts. We won't be too long-winded, but we do think there's some incredible highlights and some incredible females. And so with that, no one's more qualified to talk about this very first one than our judge from yesterday, Mr. Brett Byers. Brett, I'm going to give you the mic and give you the duties, one I know you're awfully proud of.
Well, thanks, Dave, and privileged to be back here to talk through these things here this morning. Brooke Fort brings us the grand champion Gilt from yesterday, and she is a tricked-out Goosebumps from Flatland Show Pigs in Colorado, and one that hits the ring and makes her presence known. I mean, looks like a fresh hog, looks like a hog that's been fed into it. I guess I'd just challenge you to poke a hole in this one because I don't know really where you want to fix this one. She covers the basics very well, but brings the extras very, very well as well to me. Just one that I think is awfully impressive.
You bet. We were sitting up there and we were perched up high, and somebody asked me as a champion drive went to hit the turf. They said, "What do you think's going to happen?" I said, "Well, if he does anything like he did from the first class all the way through the entire day," I said, "there's one that's just medieval from a look and the side, and her elegance through her front end and her build with those extras that Brett talked about." Brett, Tricked Out's been a crossbred boar that's just dominated this thing for the last year and a half, and where I think this female's extremely unique. Obviously, she's got the pedigree. She's got that really good Goosebump sow from Flatland on the bottom side. Not all the Tricked Outs look like this gal. This gal's got the extra elevation extension that you alluded to, and she's got that just squareness and comfort, and just she looks like a lady. You use that term all day in the show, and I think this one is very unique for any to win a show. And then when you study her pedigree top and bottom side, and you study the program where she originates from, I think she's extremely unique and she's extremely elite. You combine that, there's just not many tricked out Gilts that are going to look like this one. I think the sky's the limit. And in today's world where you want those EXTs and the ESTs and you want to pack all that punch into one feminine package, it's hard to do. And I think Brett picked an awesome one. Congratulations to the Fort girls who just barely had enough time to celebrate that champion Fort Worth Barra so they could get here and win the Gilt show at San Antonio. So, again, we won't be quite as long-winded, but I'll pass the mic mostly to Brett because he's the one most qualified to talk about him, but she's sure an exceptional individual.
Well, just to kind of reiterate here, and not that we want to talk this long on them all, but what I said yesterday holds very true today. The way this one's shoulder sets in her for the problems that are in the industry right now in terms of we all want them to be tall-shouldered, we all want them to be good-looking, we all want them to be show hogs, but when you can set a shoulder in one like that with as good a knee as she's got and it transitions into her mid-body like it does, I mean, this one's just awful special, guys. I mean, I don't know what she's worth, but to me, she looks like a very expensive show pig, and I was thinking back through the show there last night as I got back to my room and kind of collected my thoughts, and this one walked through and is the one that just hits you right away in the SIF pin. I mean, you don't know what else is coming, but you think, man, it's going to take an awful good one to beat that one. So congratulations to the family here, and hopefully congratulations on the sale here at the end of the day, and we'll talk through 36 more of them here. So. Okay, the reserve will come out of the heavyweight division as well. This is Mr. Trey Canales from Odom FFA with an OCD never before dirty secret that comes from C&P. So heavyweight division was good as we got into yesterday, as obviously being seen with what's in front of us. But a Gilt, I think when you start comparing this one to the champion Gilt, this one is probably just a nickel denser in terms of just even having just a little more, just a little more bone underneath of her with a little bigger foot even. I mean, a Gilt that is really, really round through the center portion of her body with a great hip and hind leg. I think this Gilt, from a boar making, barrel making perspective or whatever you want to do, this just looks like one that can go home and generate. Looks like one that ought to be easy to hit, to match up with a boar that can make very, very good pigs here in the next generation. So congratulations to this young man on driving a very, very nice Gilt.
Yeah, well said, Brett. And again, you had front row seat yesterday, and as I was talking on the broadcast, now we talked about the champion Gilt. Here's one, guys. If you need to move your program this gilt's going to get it done. And Brett did not have this information. We were just handed some information I want to add to what you said, because she is an absolute specimen. The grandmother of this gilt, Brett, wins the San Antonio Gilt Show right here in 2019. And she's a full sib to Secret Society. All right, so just a little late breaking news. As if she wasn't good enough in her own right, we start stacking this. Littermate was reserved dark cross at Houston in 2020. So think about all the things, think about the pedigree, right? We think about what the gilt did on her own without any knowledge of who the breeder was, her pedigree and things. And, you know, what I really liked about these heavyweight gilts, and, you know, we talked about the champion plenty. When you pack that much punch in one and you get a heavyweight gilt out there in your champion drive, this pair of gilts, Brett, their mouth never opened during their drive. And there's only one way you can achieve that. When you can pack that kind of power, that is a unique specimen. She's got a pedigree. I'll be honest, I wasn't very familiar with the OCD board at this point. This is the first few I've seen. There's another one coming in here, about 3 or 4 spots that you're going to like awfully well. If you're here and you can put eyes on this one, you don't need us to tell you anymore. She's impressive in every angle. Here's Justin. He's going to add a few comments. I know this is one that hit him awfully hard as well.
You know, we visited a little bit about the OCD deal yesterday, and Morgan up there in Iowa is putting these things together. And the thing is, he's a nomad, and those nomads have been really good sows for people. And OCD is an off-belted nomad son, and they say his has the most incredible look and balance and pattern from the side. Drag him to a little more bone. Well, you go back to that thing's heritage behind him, and there's as much bone and skull and forerib shape as you can see. And so there's, like Dave said, there's another OCD coming from the same firm, I believe, that is awfully impressive as well. Guys, you want a herd boar maker? You want ones that can win bear shows? Obviously, that's in her heritage. I would really look very closely and carefully at this pair, and this one has some extras that's very unique and very hard to put together.
Okay, next in we have Taylor Simpson from early FFA with a No Stranger Breaking Rules charm from S Squared. And this gilt would have won the middleweight division there yesterday. Another one here that is a lot. Okay, we got some information that just come in on her. Pig is a mate to the Grand Barra at Arizona this year. Mate to our $12,000 King's Gilt. Mother of this gilt is a mate to the Grand Gilt at Indiana in 21. Judgment Day's aunt. She was grand 10 to 12 times in Arizona last summer. Sold a little gilt out of her this week for $25,000. So grandma is a charm. Mother of reserve at Denver. Big brother Prince Charming, grand at Utah State Fair. 3rd overall at Utah State Fair. A reserve grand at CYE in Cali, best sow we have. That's coming from the breeder here. So, and that speaks for itself right here. I mean, a gilt that kind of commanded my attention there in that middleweight division. This young lady does an outstanding job of getting her drove and presented. You get up on top of this one, and she is very, very impressive. I mean, this one is square from top to bottom and front to rear when you start just talking about just sheer squareness. I mean, really square out the backside of her blade. I really like where her head and neck attaches. And then she comes back into a really round rib cage. I mean, this one looks to me like one that's going to make a barrow that's going to win a barrow show here someday.
Yeah, you know that that charm deal on the bottom side of that pedigree. I'll tell you a unique story. But when we had the Vegas Showcase sale down here in 2020, we had it in Fort Worth. I ran out there and saw that set of baby pigs. They were about 5 weeks old. They were on the ground. And we almost pulled the trigger, and it's probably one of the worst decisions. Actually, I was visiting with Will Hilty about that last night. He and I talked about it. We almost pulled the trigger, and he was actually contending on that charm sow as a baby pig when Bobo raised her there, and they sold her that fall. probably one of the worst decisions we ever made was not pulling the trigger. That sow, what she's done for S Squared and cash cow. I mean, right? She's a household name, and that one's probably not for sale at any price under any condition. So we study the pedigree, study the quality. The S Squared thing's been hot. Garrett and them have been doing a fantastic job. That one's just flat good, and so we'll just leave it right there. We know we got about 30 more to go through, and we won't be as long-winded. But guys, they're very hard to make, and if you're in the business and you see them like this, and you've got that kind of maternal punch in them, the sows are the differentiators, right? There's not much unique about gathering semen these days. It's open to the public, but when you can tie into a sow family that's proven to generate and win like this one has, no guesswork here, boys. Help yourself. Elite kind of female, excited to get on the mic and sell these things today.
Okay, next is Jackson Gray from Perrin FFA. He brings us the champion lightweight. So she's a spread the word, refocus, foundation sale from Mike Clay, bred by Harmon Farms. So the lightweights yesterday at the top end I thought were very, very good. And this gilt looks like she's still got life left in her show career. I mean, this one looks like a lady like the rest of these things have. This thing has got a running gear that just doesn't quit. I mean, her angulation off of both ends of her skeleton is very, very good. And she's got a big, stout hind leg with a good rear foot. Here again, I mean, her center body cavity is very good, especially to attach that kind of head and neck to the top side of her blade. I mean, this just looks like one that's just going to get better every day of the life. Kind of a front pasture kind of sow. I mean, you're going to want to see this one when you pull in the drive, and it's going to be impressive to any customer that comes to buy pigs from you. I think a tremendous breeding piece here. Congratulations to this young man on his success yesterday.
You bet. Excellent female bred discussion yesterday, and he's giving you the highlights, guys. I mean, you're talking about one, again, he used the term all day, and I loved it. She looks like a lady. He talked about fresh gilts that had future and looked natural. Think about her angles, how clean her joints are, her natural presence and head carriage as she covers the surface. That's a very elegant, young-looking, immature kind of female that fits everything just right. And think about the versatility. When you can put that kind of look and boldness in them, keep them that slick jointed and that comfortable at the surface, your breeding opportunities on that one are absolutely endless. That one's going to make a lot of money for somebody as she turns into a sow.
Okay, so here we have Reese Mabry from the Brock FFA with the Spread the Word Clean Living coming from the stud here in Texas. So this would be your reserve middleweight gilt here. Just a gilt, another gilt with a tremendous amount of quality, in my opinion. A gilt that, as you get up on top of her, and I was fortunate to have the front row seat there yesterday. This thing has got a big, big blade and a big chest and a really round rib cage with a very long hip and a great hind leg. I mean, just another gilt that's extremely comfortable. A gilt that looks pretty versatile to me in terms of, you know, that one's going to have a broad range of bores that can work on her and just kind of make the next generation better. But guys, I mean, study your lesson here. There's a lot of these things that are just built very good at the top end of this thing from a squareness and comfortability standpoint. And when they're that good, in my opinion, like I said, there's a lot of bores. You can power them up, or you can go freak on them, or whatever you want to do, and try to offset your next generation. But this one brings a lot of the bells and whistles to the table already. Good gilt here and congratulations to this young lady on what she did there yesterday.
Yep, not a lot else needs to be said. Good job there on that one, Brett. You know, you and I are both fortunate enough we're affiliated with the nutrition business, and people are always buying feed and top dresses and looking for help. Where this one's good, we can't fix with buckets. Right, we can buy all the additives and top dresses in the world to do things to feed and fit on hogs, and they're great tools to have. But where this one's really unique and sorts herself, you just can't do it any other way than the breeding program. And so congrats to this young lady. Back-to-back spread the word Gilts here in the sale order. I think that probably tells you a little bit as you go to breeding on some hogs. These females got the look, they got the basic build and kind to go on and feed and make mature sows.
Oh, okay. You got some notes on number 7?
Hey, Dave, are we good with using this microphone for the sale?
Okay, we're going to skip number 6 here in the sale order and go to number 7. This would be Mr. Rob Thomas. Is that right, buddy? All right. He's from the Sinton FFA. He brings us an OCD Guns Up Dirty Secret. We just talked about OCD, or Justin just talked about him there a little bit earlier, coming from the same place, from CNP. And this Gilt within her division would have been the third out in the division if I was, if they had asked me to pick one. And you talk about one here that and this young man does a great job of getting her drove, but head and neck is just outrageous here, and it's just crazy how big her hind leg is. Just like the rest of these things that have come through, this Gilt is very comfortable. This Gilt is very angular, both front and rear. I mean, that's a neat little head on a real round rib cage. This was a tough decision in that division. This one's no slouch right here. I think a very, very, very good animal. You guys got a good set of Gilts to look at here today. Lots of different options, but looks like this firm's got 2 of them in the sale here real early out of the same bore. You might want to pay attention to what's going on. There might be some genetic predictability there in the next generation.
Yep, and if we're in the broadcasting business, they'd call that the perfect segue, Brett, because, again, I've got information that you didn't have. We went back and we talked about the other C&P Gilt that came out there, the reserve Gilt that's so good and so unique. Guys sharing the same grandma. So the grandma down here on the bottom side wins the San Antonio Gilt Show here in 2019 as the Full Sib to Secret Society. All right, so as if the boars themselves weren't enough, and I really admire these guys. I haven't followed the CMP program that closely, but that tells me that they're breeding hogs and they're not multiplying livestock. When you start lining up grandmas on the bottom side and you're breeding them to the same sires, a guy that's on fire right now who I love to talk to about breeding sows, Kyle Knauf, and that program, and he studies that and he does that as well as anybody. And you study the pedigree and the predictability and the genetic similarities, and then you cram both of those Gilts in the top 7 of the sale and that high up in the show order, guys. I think that tells you all you need to know about the opportunities. At this point, you might be struggling just to decide which one you need to bid on. Congrats to the breeders. Congrats to the young show people here. Real nice set of Gilts that program is putting to sale today, and these young people have done a great job getting them ready for us.
We're going to lot 8. Okay, next out we're going to have lot 8, which is Miss Alondra Robles. I did all right. Okay. She's from the Hiko FFA. She has a back slap on a king sow from Reynolds Show Pigs. I guess that would be Reynolds in Ohio there. So here again brings out another one that offers us some extra structure, particularly off of those rear legs. I mean, that thing's got a big, stout, dense hind leg and a really round body cavity. A Gilt, I believe this Gilt won the heavyweight class yesterday, if I remember correctly, and won a good heavyweight class, but a Gilt that is probably pushing 310, 320, I'm guessing, and still maintains her comfortability and looks still fresh. I mean, looks like she's been kind of fed into it. A Gilt that's got some far-reaching pieces in terms of some extra density and keeping some look in them. So, another one here that I think's versatile in terms of hitting a lot of different bores and just making hogs better. Coming from a firm that is no stranger to making good crossbred hogs.
You bet. Good summary. Big, stout, comfortable gilt. And again, the gilt with that kind of hind leg, when you get in behind her, guys, her joints look the way they should. They're not puffy. They're not coarse and nasty looking. And the gilt's still sleek enough out through her front end, right? Her jawline's right. She doesn't have a great big ugly crest at the top of her neck, right? There's still enough femininity and pack and punch to go with it. And her comfort level, again, she's not out here squealing. It's a very comfortable gilt that's going to move you from the center now. She's not one of those stay safe all day long kind of gilts. That's a big, stout, powerful gilt from a good program. Young lady did a nice job and had a successful showing with her.
Just real quick, guys, you see a hind leg that's bigger, quite a bit bigger than the front leg. That's true density. That's true character of structure. That thing has got a huge hind leg, like Dave said. That's great jointed. She has a perfect posture and bend of that hind leg, and her length of hip is so good to have that kind of bone. This one is much like we've talked about some of them. That's a foundation type sow. Go buy Moyer's hogs and try to buy them at the price you're going to buy them today. This is a total Moyer bred hog. Try to buy one, a foundation sow like this one from the Genetic Edge Group. She'll be pennies on a dollar today.
All right, next in we have lot 9 from Lauren Marole. I probably butchered that. Dickinson FFA. She brings us an Anything Goes Next Intention from Mike Clay here in Texas. So, you know, here again, I think I could probably sound repetitive here, but just a gilt that's built to the hilt. I mean, built like an athlete. Probably even a little fuller today, honestly, but ties a kind of a neat head and neck onto a big round rib cage and does it in a comfortable fashion. I mean, I'm sure some of these things are probably even going to look fuller today as they come back and don't have to worry about their weights and whatnot. But you know, looking back through these top 7 or 8 here so far, I mean, man, these things look very, very good this morning.
Yeah, you got to feel pretty good about things 24 hours later, I'd say, because they do look like some beasts. And it's nice for me, right? We were up in the perch yesterday and got to give a perspective. Young lady, I remember you drove the wheels off of her. You were running hot laps out there in class. I remember the gilt because she could. And I told Justin, I said, she's got a plan because she knows she can wear the rest of them down. And so that gilt's built so well. She's a little more moderate than a couple of the others. And so some of you guys will gravitate towards that. But again, same look, same comfort, hot quality, joint quality, and, you know, again, just assembly of structural correctness and integrity. Again, Brett set the tone from the first class yesterday and went right on through. She represents what he did all day long.
Just real quick, again, this is a Mike Clay bred gilt. Mike raised this one fairness. There's a plan behind this program. You think about how many great show pig sow herds that started out their foundations in White Deer, Texas. Mike has a plan. If you want to put a foundation sow together, there's years and years of great hogs packed on with a Mike Clay sow prospect. That's kind of a no-brainer there.
All right, next up we have Mr. Cole Raines from Fredericksburg FFA, bringing us a full tilt on a base camp sow from Mr. Will Hilty, the guy that's over judging the other show there right now. And this gilt wins her class there yesterday again and won a competitive class. And young man does an outstanding job with her. You know, a gilt, you set her up here on the prop, and I mean, here again, real good head and neck. This gilt is ultra impressive when you get up on top of her in terms of her amount of spread and just how big and fresh her back is to be able to wheel like she does. I mean, just another gilt that I think brings a tremendous amount of quality from a sow herd that's no stranger to winning crossbred banners right now.
Yeah, again, you know, arguably the hottest firm going in this thing, and rightfully so. Across the other side of the arena, sorting your purebred gilts here at San Antonio, Will Hilty, the breeder behind it. And if you know Will's stock, we've been very fortunate. We follow Will's program close, and we've tied into some sow families, and it's paid dividend on top of dividend for us. It really has. And he's got a plan, he's got a program, and then you get this young man here who's done an outstanding job getting that one driven, had a big successful show yesterday. She just represents everything you think from a Hilty sow family. Slick looking, great big old back. You bring up a good point, Brett. I hadn't had the opportunity to get right up on top of this one and see. I mean, that one could hold a half gallon of water in her spine and never spill a drop, guys. Pretty good kind of show pig.
Next in, we have lot 11, Kaylee Hatcher from Clear Falls FFA, with a next intention never before from none other than Mr. Kyle Knauth in Illinois, a neighbor to me there. So, known Kyle my whole life, and extremely, not that I need to be proud of him, but a good young guy in the business that's doing his own thing and is getting rewarded for it immensely, and it's good to see that happen. But so this one comes from a firm that is on fire right now. I think they've won Fort Worth 2 years in a row now, and won the. I guess we'll see what the future holds here for the rest of the run last year. But just another gilt here that covers the basics very, very well, but brings some extras. I mean, this is another one you get up on top of her, and there is a lot. There's a lot there. I mean, there's a lot of upper spread that it takes to win those next level barra shows if you're going to kind of get that done, and still got a good kind of look with a good running gear. I'm anxious to hear what Dave has to say about this one.
Well, again, with the program, you can go on forever with Kyle. And, I look at that pedigree, and if you're interested, and you should be, reach out to Kyle and get confirmation, or I may do so myself. A next intention never before. That's the pedigree of those barras that were down here just doing all the winning. And I know we had an opportunity. He sold full sibs to those never-before females in the Vegas deal there. And so I would guess if you ventured out and asked him, again, he's a guy that doesn't just breed sows. He makes planned matings, and he's got a program up there. And I love talking hogs with him because it's so refreshing how he builds those. He just has a different mindset. And clearly his track record that he's put together speaks for itself. So young lady does a great job of driving one, slick-headed, bold, stout, with a firm that's not as hot as anybody. It's the hottest thing going in America right now, rightfully so.
All right, next in we have lot 12. It's a Roy Villarreal. No, close enough, he says. So he's from Somerset FFA with a backbone never before from a good friend of mine, Mr. Ben Boble there in Illinois. And I think I heard Justin talking about and Dave talking about a Boble sow that was behind one of these gilts, I think the reserve gilt, if I remember right. And certainly that doesn't surprise me. I mean, Ben's been breeding good crossbred hogs for a lot of years and does a very good job. But I mean, this one looks a lot like a Boble hog to me. Those hogs have always got good round rib cages in them. They always got a very good hip and hind leg and a good running gear. A gilt that to me, is stout mugged and still looks youthful. I mean, she looks like, she's got her best days in front of her yet. Good underline. I know we don't talk about that as much in breeding gilts as probably used to, but that can be said for a lot of these gilts that have been in here and that are coming in. Underlying quality's been very, very good, and we still got to get pigs raised, and we still got to they still got to function like regular hogs in order to make elite show pigs. So this looks like one of those females that's going to cover the basics very, very well and bring some extras, and you can put a lot of different bores on her.
Yeah, and I would echo something Justin alluded to there earlier on a gilt or something. Ben's got his first pig sale coming up here in a few days. I can tell you right now, if you go to take a gilt of this quality at 40 or 50 pounds at the Boble Ranch and you show up to his live pig sale, you better be prepared to spend some money. Yep. I mean, that's a 5-digit kind of hog all day long as a baby pig. And so here's an opportunity to get the genetics, the program, the marketing on a really, really good one, and get her set up to go to breeding on here and start making some of these July pigs here in a few weeks if you choose, or grow her out a little more and do whatever fits your program. But good opportunity, good program. Nice job, young man. It's a good gilt.
Okay, next in we have lot 13 is Ella Hopkins from Sinton FFA. Had a Sinton FFA in there earlier. No introduction, King Secret Weapon from C&P. I guess C&P had a heck of a day. That's just a testament to how good the hogs are. But another lightweight gilt here that probably looks even fuller today than she did yesterday. A gilt that still looks youthful, looks like she's on her way up. Man, that thing's got a big old stout tail root and a long hip and a round cage with a neat little head sitting up there. So, you know, just like I said before, I mean, I think good females hit wide windows in terms of mating wise, what kind of boar you want to put on them, and this looks like another one that could put a lot of service sires in and have a very successful next crop and even a foundation kind of a sow.
Yeah, no kidding. Boy, I feel kind of foolish on the CMP thing all of a sudden, you know. It's like, where have I been napping? Pack 3 of this kind of caliber and quality up there. And again, like I said, probably the thing I can give them is knowing nothing about the program. You think about the sows and what they're doing, stacking those females. That's a breeding livestock mentality. You can take that in any species and things. And again, this no intro thing and what Mollet and them have done, those females are going to be sitting there. And I think, like you've seen in Never Before had a tremendous record in the show ring, right? No one can deny that. But you think about what those Never Before sows have done for all the breeders. I know us and Ben and Wright and Knauf, and then you look here in these CMP gilts too. You've seen that boar. I think No Intro's got his place, and he's got an opportunity to be the same 2 or 3 years from now. So one that looks like a lady, built right. Again, program's done a great job. Young lady gets her presented well.
All right, thanks, Ella. The next one coming in is Lot 14, Mila Wagner from Montgomery County 4-H with a No Stranger Destiny from Fishbacher. So another lighter weight gilt here that, not to try to sound like a broken record, but looks a lot like the rest of them. I mean, head and neck attaches to the top of her blade. This young lady does an outstanding job of getting her drove, and she's got the gear to get her drove. I mean, this one's range and reach off of both ends of her skeleton is very good. Still big in the center portion of her body there, and just looks like one that's doesn't have quit in her. I mean, she's got some gas in the tank to go ahead and still have a show career, or, you know, be a great sow here for whoever owns her at the end of the day.
Yeah, I remember in the show you mentioned that big flag tail when she parked it up there. It looks like a hedge post coming out of her back, guys. I mean, that thing's got a tail root that's just mega stout. And then got that slick jaw and presence. These No Strangers have been feeding, guys. You know, those two, he and his brother are up there at Premium Blend, and two of the most popular boars for sure out of their contemporaries when they hit the ground coming out of Mark Gray's program. And, you know, the argument was when you looked at them is which one were you going to use and how are you going to use them. I tell you what, No Stranger has put his stamp on these things, and I think that's a boy that's going to get recycled and used again.
I used this one's grandmother there at Heart of Texas to be the Grand Gilt a couple years ago. And to this day, she's one of the very best ones I've ever seen. I got on the phone, found out what she was later, and then I found out from Mila and her family that this is a granddaughter of that gilt. Tremendous sow family. That Destiny line at Fishbacher's has been potent. I would really study your lesson here.
Yeah, just to make another comment, probably one of the deepest hearted gilts that we've had come through here today. I mean, that thing, the base of her rib cage is very, very good, and that's very unique. So congratulations to that young lady. Okay, next up we have Emily Wiss from the Godly FFA with a duck yaw and a slow cap from Winter Livestock there in Oklahoma. So calico gilt. I remember this thing pretty well from yesterday there. Just looks like one, honestly, that's still immature yet, but man, her features read that she is going to be stout. I mean, that thing's got a lot of width between her eyes, got a lot of width at the base of her tail, and she's probably wider underneath than she is at the top of her skeleton yet. Just does not look like she's mature. Just looks like one that's going to be a monster here in 30 days, or whatever the case may be. But I think a very, very unique breeding piece in terms of one that has those next level pieces to make you a real stout herd boar, or make some really high selling baby pigs for you when it comes next season time to sell them.
You know, we're all guilty of it. Here's one. You talk about a maturity level and things, but you ever see those red gilts that you've had out on the show circuit, and sometimes you bring them home and you put them on sow feed for 30 days, and you're like, man, I really outthought myself on that because she looks as good as she's ever looked. I think this is one of those right here. I think when that one goes home and you give her, like you said, 30, 60, 90 days, and she just becomes a show pig and goes out there to be a sow prospect, and just, I think that one's got some really unique pieces. Again, I remember obviously color pattern, she's hard to forget, but that thing's look and presence, and man, she could just cover some turf. Real unique breeding animal.
All right. Next up, number 16, lot number 16, Cadence Thomas from Atacosa FFA with an icon never before from the Hofschultes there in Oklahoma. So another firm that's been on a roll here for several years, and a set of brothers there and a sister that are doing an awful good job. Grew up in the business and have just received more and more success as they've went. So lightweight gilt I remember very, very well. Here again, I think a gilt that looks like she has a pretty high ceiling. I mean, doesn't look like she's quite there yet. Just comfortable as you could ask one to be. She at the base of her rib cage, like we talked a couple lots before, I mean, is very, very good. I mean, this is one of them round-bodied sows that you could try to lay her on her side, but she's probably going to roll over because her rib cage is so round. But tremendous when you get up on the top side of her. I think a young gilt here that still has a lot of progress to make and a lot of good days in front of her, whatever you choose to do with her after you buy her out of this sale.
Yeah, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, you used this gilt to win her class pretty fast yesterday, I think, and she was leaning on that Class 1 gilt, and she was leaning on that reserve division, I think, hard to get a chunk, and I remember that icon gilt came out of class, and I'm like, man, that thing's present. This one was born to be a show hog. Right, it's impossible for her to get her head down, guys. She's got tied in so high out of her blade, and the way she blends. Right, Brett talked all day about those gilts looking like ladies. She's sleek at her top of her neck. She blends right into her blade really good. He talked about an incredible chested one. It's got a tremendous turn to her forerib. I agree 100%. This gilt's best days are ahead of her. If you're in the business and wanting a sow, maybe you've got some places you can cart one to a couple of shows too. I think this gilt checks all those boxes.
The last two gilts are expo prospects. You guys are looking at trying to show some hogs throughout the late spring and then go to the expo in Iowa. Everybody's always looking for them. There's two of them right here back to back that'd be very, very good candidates.
Okay. Up next, we have Landon Barnett from Louisville FFA with a chosen one on a red 7. There's a little older kind of pedigree from Cody Hill here in Texas, I assume. Red 7 was a boar at McCoy's, I remember years ago, the Boble bred, if I remember correctly, and kind of an interesting pedigree there. But a gilt that I remember from yesterday, this one's massive when you get on top of her, and she's massive in the center portion of her body cavity. One that probably pushes the edges just a little bit more in some regards, but still ties a very neat presence out in front of her blade. You know, she's one of those that probably gets wider as she goes back. You know, you take her from the tip of her nose. I mean, that thing at the top side of her hip, it has a lot of pin width. Just looks like a very interesting breeding piece to me that could do a lot of different things. You know, some of the best females as my years have progressed breeding hogs are some of those ones that maybe didn't make the best show gilt, but they make the best sow prospect because it's easy to fix where their flaw is, and it's always easy to find that boar to fix them. This looks like one of those to me that might score big in a farrowing crate.
Yep, I think you nailed it in terms of, I would call it a complementary mating. I mean, there's so many ways you could breed that female, and I can tell you, if you're into skinny sows that don't have much punch and won't move you far, you'll want to sit this one out, okay? That's not what this girl is. That is a true piece. But you know what I like about her, Brett, and this is why she did well on your show yesterday, and you mentioned it, this gilt's not coarse and piecey, right? That gilt's smooth in her top line. That gilt's comfortable in her move. You know, to pack that much punch, around. She is a unique breeding piece, and like Brett, again, he nailed it. I think there's so many boars you could breed this one to and make high quality, very sellable show pigs.
All right, next up, lot 18 would be Faith Doza from Clear Falls FFA. And I'm Shug on a Never Before from Lidner here in Texas. So, you know, broken record again. I mean, they all kind of look similar here, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it's just the quality of hogs that were brought to me yesterday. But this narrow-belted gilt does a lot of things and does a lot of things well. I mean, that is a flat-backed gilt with a long hip and a very, very good hind leg. You know, sometimes it's, as livestock evaluators and breeders, you don't always want them to be just jet-level hip because they can't use their hind leg. This one is a testament that you get them every once in a while that is dang level-hipped and long hip, and her hind leg is perfect in her assembly, in my opinion. I think a gilt that once you get up on top of her, you're going to realize just how big back this thing is out the backside of her blade. Very, very interesting breeding piece here. Congratulations to this young lady.
Yeah, we're not going to be any more redundant than we have to be. Brett's right. He did a nice job sorting the gilts, and he picked them the same way from Class 1 right through your Grand Champion selection. And this gilt just fits the bill. He talked them accurately, I thought, yesterday, and he nailed her again today. You guys know the Lidner program here as well as anyone. We're not going to pretend to know it as well as some of you being from the Midwest, but obviously what he's got going on there, the Shug Boars one that he tied into hard and believed in, and now you can tell why as these hogs are hitting the surface.
Okay, next up, lot 19 is Riata Shof. I'm not getting a dirty look at least. Shuff. Okay, from Belton FFA. Underdog raised this one, Justin says. So this is another round on Cruel Intentions. So a gilt, kind of a little bit more of a painted up gilt here. This young lady does a good job of getting drove. A gilt that's wide and square from front to rear here again. A gilt that's got a little extra in terms of some density. Got some stoutness between her eyes. Got a big old rolled up back in her here with a kind of a neat color pattern. Here again, I think, just another good kind of solid breeding piece that you can do a lot of different things with. We'll see what Dave has to say here.
Yeah, again, we're forced to be redundant up here. There's a pretty headed gilt that's bold and square chested, and that's again, I'll brag on Brett because he's sitting right here beside of me. But you didn't see a bunch of flat-footed knock-kneed gilts yesterday. If you did, they're not in the sale today. And this gilt represents the things he talked about: stout-jawed, still looks like a lady, monster square chest, and her good feet and toes. Young lady does a good job getting her driven. Just a very nice show pig producing piece right here.
This one stole out of the Power Female sale. I talked to Garner last night, Underdog Gen X there at Lawn, and he was really, really pumped about this one. You get in the Power Female sale and you get one like this, there's a plan behind this one.
Okay, next up we have lot 20 from Samuel Whalen, Pearland FFA with an unashamed hardwired from 4F Livestock, and actually had somebody text me about this one, just some notes on it. This is out of the old Rhett sow that they bought from the Lackey Bred sow sale. Easy farrowing and great in the crate. This one has been a standout from the beginning, is what this guy said, or this person that texted me said. Looks like a hog here again that still has some growing to do and still has some ability to go on and kind of have a higher ceiling. I mean, a gilt that probably just a nickel emptier, and if I remember right, was a nickel emptier yesterday, but still has a round cage in her, still good coming and going, and on a good set of feet and legs, dead level there up in her back, and just a lot of quality in this particular animal.
Yeah, again, Brett nailed it, and we'll pick up the pace as we go through, and we'll grab you the highlights. Big, stout gilt, attractive out through the front end, monster rear leg, square-chested. Guys, there's just a lot of breeding pieces here. Take advantage of your opportunities. You guys know what these baby pigs are bringing right now, and it's pretty crazy, and these are the kind of females that can make them for you.
Okay, Cora Ford brings us lot 21 from Westlaco, FFA, with a no huddle, stay classy from Mr. David Korb in Ohio. So I got some notes on this one here. Sow is a litter mate to the pig. The same showman made the sale with at San Antonio 2 years ago and is now in the 4F herd. Sow is a stay classy, never before distinct. Goes back to the old foundation, distinct sow. Obviously, no huddle needs no introduction, which was very well put. Lighter weight gilt here again. That just like Justin talked, maybe you have some future still with this one in terms of a show pig, but from a sow power standpoint, this one has got some big legs, and this one has got some big feet and a big back. A gilt that has some of those next level pieces to kind of go home and here again sound redundant, but possibly make a herd boar, some real elite barras. I mean, she's got the back shape out the backside of her blade and the punch that it takes to win big barra shows. And if you had the ability to get up on top of this one, you'd see just how impressive she is. I mean, here again, a gilt that stayed together here overnight. She looks natural. She looks real. Just waiting for new ownership.
Yeah, remember this gilt when she hit class. This is the oldest no huddle gilt I've seen, and of course no huddle. And I don't know how much you touched on this, Brett. Sorry, I was multitasking, but Corb and Hilty and Trace, those guys bought that pig from, that was a baby pig that Leatherman had at Kings of the Hill, and I remember they all teamed up, and he brought about 50 or 60,000 maybe, and, they've been pretty sheepish about letting much of that semen go up until here recently, and obviously this one originates from Corb, and, you guys will see him here in about 10 or 12 days. That one's unique, very, very unique. That one's got some pieces to make big-time show barras.
All right, lot 22 brings Olivia Longcrier from Lindale FFA with a quite frankly on Dead Horses litter mate from Reese Livestock. So I don't think anybody's probably ever heard of Quite Frankly, have they? I'm not even a crossbred breeder, and I've heard of that one. So, but very good animal. Like I said yesterday, this one looks like a lady, and she's built like one. Incredibly tall shouldered. This is one of those that run uphill. Tall shouldered, yet has very, very good angulation to her shoulder blade and very good set to her knee. Just looks like one of those you could walk back to wherever you were going to buy her, and she's never going to get tight. A gilt that still looks a little immature, in my opinion, through her center. Looks like she's maybe just not quite there yet completely, but a very high quality female. You take home and breed to one of those boars that's just going to power you up and make her a little denser in some regards. And it's going to be a home run kind of mating.
We got an email or text or something last night. This Reese Livestock, the female on this, the mother is either a litter mate to the Houston Reserve Grand Barra or the same mother. They're related, and so it goes back to that same deal on Dead Horse's litter mate sister. And so there's Reese has had the Reserve Grand at Houston last year in the Barra Show. Bottom side exactly the same. So very, very good foundation female here as well.
That was 22. Yep. Lot 23 walks in next from Lawson Taylor from East Central FFA. Brings us a tricked out on a cruel intention sow from LT3 Show Pigs. So same sire as the Grand Gilt here today. And you can see some similarities. Same kind of mug, same kind of head carriage, same kind of blade and rib cage. A gilt that is very dense. This is one of those off-centered ones that's probably a little boxier in her kind. That herd boar status right here, or whatever you want to say. yesterday. I mean, this is one of those that changes you and moves you in one direction, you know, in one mating, in one season, in my opinion. Here, I'll let Dave talk about her a little bit more, but I think a very unique breeding piece here that is very dense.
She took 3 steps in class yesterday. I looked at Justin. I said, "That's a tricked out." And then I looked at the pedigree. She's just that kind, guys, right? She's going to move, as he said, she's going to take you off center. She's going to push the envelope. This is not a little skinny one that's built, you know, well built and green, and you hope the future's going to get bright. What you see is what you get here. This is a massive, uniquely made female that absolutely has power. I mean, you look at that one, and I don't think anybody's going to deny she has the opportunity to make one that's just out there. Right, very, very unique, and at the same time, this gilt still stays comfortable enough to remain competitive in a high-quality gilt show yesterday. You know, in front of a judge that critiqued him in terms of agility and soundness and structural integrity from start to finish. And she's way up here in the sale order. She's way up here in the show order with the pedigree, guys. I can tell you, if you're wanting to get in on the tricked-out genetics, I think there's about 10 or 12 straws of frozen semen left in the world, and so you can try to do it however you like. I think I'd just rather take the guesswork out and go to work on one that looks like this.
All right, we bring in Caden Rawls with lot 24 next from San Patricio FFA or 4-H. San Patricio County 4-H with Imagine That on a Whataburger from Lidner. So I'm going to guess this one's Berkshire influence just by looking at her, but one of these that's very, very interesting for this part of the country, in my opinion. Front 2/3 of this thing is incredible for any breed. One thing you all didn't get the benefit of seeing that I did in the ring yesterday is just how big back this thing is. I mean, the spread to her upper skeleton for a purebred or a purebred influence, or however we're terming this, is very, very good. Tall-shouldered gilt that looks like a show gilt, but is set very good in her blade. Her rib cage, out the backside of her shoulder, even all the way down into her heart. I mean, she is very, very round there. I think a very interesting breeding piece, especially for what she offers from a mating standpoint, or for the breed that she will produce. But interesting here. I'd take a look.
Yeah, there was 2 of these gilts I starred that have unique value, particularly for this part of the country. And Berkshire appearing hogs, we'll call this one, I guess. Again, you just study your skeleton, right? You can paint them brown, green, orange, or purple. And you think about, again, our grand champion gilt that he selected, and you think about that class 1 gilt and everything in the middle. Guys, she fits the mold of all of them, right? Looks like a lady, runs uphill. She's elegant, slick joints, comfortable, and like he said, she's very deceiving. And it's really nice after yesterday being up there to get a close-up and some of what Brett's sharing with you. For one, that's just totally deceiving. You get up on her back, and that spread he was referring to, guys, the skeletal width is there all the way through. Easy, again, that complementary mating statement we made earlier. I think she's got good value.
This gilt has got 2 boars in her pedigree that have been game changers. 2-3 years ago, Whataburger came out and changed the Berkshire Bear game in the Southwest. Slam dunked them pretty much. And then the Imagine That last year, this is first crop, sold there at I believe Perfect Timing. Their Laird's, those bears out of that deal have been extremely, extremely good this time. Lots of pedigree from a great firm.
Okay, next in we have lot 25, Amelia Hitzfelder from Medina County FFA. Don't have any breeder information on it, just a sire information. Oh, no, take that back. She just got handed to me. From Tash Show Pigs, sire is in game, sow is a daddy's money, draft pick fortune. So thank you for that, young lady. Solid black gilt here that is a very good animal. Here again, a lightweight gilt that looks like she's got a lot of future in front of her. Just built like they need to. I mean, built like she's still got a lot of gas in the tank from an immaturity standpoint. Here again, one of those gilts that's probably a little wider down low than she is up high, which tells me that she's not quite mature yet up there through the top side of her blade. But I think more days on feed, the more impressive this one gets, and whatever you want to do with her, just a good animal. She's just good stock.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was headed, Justin. I think this in-game thing, we talked about 2 or 3 of these boars are going to leave their imprint on the foundation side, on the bottom side of the maternal pedigree, and I think in-game's headed that direction. He's a boar that's gotten used, and you forget how long he's been there at Premium Blend. I think these females are good. You touched on it, Brett. Her shoulder assembly, the way she ties in her knee, or her comfort on the surface, very, very good. Very, very good. I mean, that gilt, yeah, if you want to feed on one to show a little later in life or something, she's still got a lot of gas left in the tank, but again, where she's good, that's a nice place to start making foundation kind of females.
All right, next in is lot 26, Guthrie True Creel from Newcastle FFA with a hog out of the push on an Honest Truth from Mr. Brenning there in Iowa. Yep, you sure can. Brings us a Brenning gilt that's got a lot of look out in front of her blade and looks like an athlete. From what I know of the Brenning Ranch, they tend to make them stout. And this one is got a lot of look, got a lot of shape, a lot of mass up high. Got a really good rib cage and a really good running gear. Here again, a gilt that just doesn't look like she's hit her prime yet. I mean, looks like she's still got gas in the tank. Some good days in front of her. Very good gilt to be down here. We're nearing the 30s in the sale order. It speaks the quality of what was brought to me yesterday in terms of just depth of quality. Gilt's got a great underline on her as well. Got more spigots than most for sure. But I think a very good kind of animal here.
You bet. Again, a firm and a guy that needs no introduction, right, with Brenning, and she represents it. Justin said in class yesterday, he goes, well, she looks like a Brenning hog, and not an attempt to be a comedian or anything, but, when I was at Brenning's place, he's like, hey, we don't have any sissies in our sow herd, and if you know Brenning, that's exactly how he's going to tell you. If he's got a good one, he's going to tell you, hey, I've got a really good one, and I don't need your approval. I know he's good, and if he's got one that's not good enough, he'll be just as brutally honest with you and say, I got to make this one better. This is a good one, and she's not a sissy, and Shane would be proud of this gilt if he were here. Again, she looks like a Brenning hog. She's got look, she's got immense power, squareness, a big kind of pin set. I love that pin set in her ride. If you study those fat steers and you get behind them, you study a big square pin set and how they carry it down to their hock. This gilt's got the same kind of assembly, and again, I think breeding livestock, Brett, and I think you would agree, you've got some diverse background with your family, just certain things never go out of style, and this gilt's got some pieces here that I think can be high value pieces to a breeding program.
Okay, lot 27 brings us Jace Crosskoff. Yeah, if I butchered it, buddy, I'm sorry. Pleasanton FFA with a French Kiss No Moss from Cole Farms. So brings us the first blue gilt of the lineup, and lighter weight gilt come out of one of those light classes. That silhouette is just very, very good. The way her head and neck ties onto the top of her blade. She's one of them that kind of gets a little wider as she progresses to the rear portion of her skeleton. I mean, and does it with a good hip and hind leg and a good stifle set in her. I think, here again, high ceiling gilt that's got life left in her show career if you're after her for that, or if you want to take her home, put her on sow feed and make a front pasture kind of sow out of her. I think it's all good, because I think this one fits the bill one way or another.
You talked about those old school blues yesterday. I knew exactly what you're referring to. Man, you love that one's look. I mean, that thing has got a killer look, and her blade and just her freshness. And I appreciate you using that term yesterday. I think it's one we've lost in this thing a little bit. Just that gilt's got future. She's got quality. And if you can make show pigs that look like that from the side, guys, and get some color like that in them, I can tell you what, you've got a product. Particularly those of you in the Midwest that are paying attention, you know, Ohio and Indiana, we've now got those light cross divisions established, and so if you've kind of been lagging because you haven't been making some blues and you want to kind of jump ahead of the line, here's a good opportunity if you're following along online.
Okay, next in, lot 28, Braylee Kirkpatrick from Toller FFA, with an exit strategy, die-free, one more round from none other than Joe Eggers there in the great state of Iowa. So another Berkshire appearing or Berkshire influence or whatever we want to say, or maybe she's a pure, I don't really know. But whatever she is, she's good stock. Okay, Justin says she's at least 7/8, so but just good stock. I mean, looks like a very good kind of a Berkshire female. You know, like I said earlier, I got the privilege of getting on top of these things yesterday. There is a lot of spread on a big, massive skeleton on top of this one. You know, I think I dinged her a little bit for maybe having just a little bit more cover on them than I'd prefer, but that doesn't do anything from a sale value standpoint. It was just within the show, but I think a gilt that looks like one that would have a little more cover on her, just like an old Angus cow. If they got that kind of rib cage on her, you know, they feed and they put it on, and that's what the good Lord put them on the earth to do. And I think a very square animal, a very comfortable animal from front to rear. You know, just like I said earlier, that rib cage is so round, I think if you rolled her on her side, she'd just roll over onto her back and just keep going down the hill because she's just built that way, and that's a good thing. That's something we've lost a little bit in this industry and in stock in general, going through trends. And I think as I've become a show dad over the past 5 years, boy, it's a lot funner to feed a hog with a rib cage like that than them flat ones that don't want to eat every day. It's just you go in the house and you're a lot better mood when your wife walks in the door. So, but anyway, I'll be anxious to hear what Dave has to say.
Yeah, I alluded to a minute ago. There was a pair of them things I had asterisks by, and you just found the second one. Got a little insider trader information that you guys wouldn't have. I got a text message for this one, came in class and said, hey, you need to study the Berkshire appearing one in here for me. This one goes back, guys, and so I want to find the text message, make sure I'm telling you right. So this one's mother is the same sow that produced the champion Berkshire Bear at the summer type there last summer. So Pedigree, this is no accident. She looks this way. And again, Brett, you referred to something I love when we're talking about livestock, complementary matings. When I texted him back, I said she's very, very good. And where he maybe beat her in the show today, she's so easy to breed, right? To complement this one, there's 25 boars you could go out there and get at any point on overrun and be good, because this one's stout and she's proportioned well, her joints are right, and like you said, you know, maybe she's carrying just a little extra bark, which will never hurt her. I think that's a true breeding piece. If you're in the business of making quote-unquote Berkshire appearing or dirty Berkshire kind of hogs in the Southwest, I think this one's a no-brainer.
Okay, lot 29, Kaysen Long Crier. I think we had a Long Crier earlier, didn't we? From Lindale FFA, back on top on an America sow, Reserve Houston barrow in 22. I'm guessing she produced that barrow from Reese Livestock here. So here again, another lightweight gilt that's got a lot of future in her. Kind of a neat color pattern on this particular gilt. I mean, she looks like a big league gilt when she kind of gets there. I mean, just the way her head and neck attaches to the top side of her blade with a long hip and a great kind of hind leg. You know, here again, one that's a nickel more moderate that maybe offers us a little more off-centered in terms of a breeding piece. One that's going to move you a little further there in the first generation. I think we've said it repeatedly here time and time again today, but one that offers a lot of quality in a very deep set of crossbred gilts.
Yeah, if you're into those slick jawed ones with great presence and then extra mass and a big old rear foot, her toes on those rear legs too, Brett, you know, even size, and I think that plays a role and a factor in here. And kudos to the guys at San Antonio. I know you as a livestock evaluator, when you got to hear a comfortable surface where you can really read the hogs. I paid attention to that yesterday. It's a very, very nice place to evaluate livestock. High quality gilt from Reese, and I know that early on, Justin, as you were online, you mentioned the Reese family 3 or 4 times on the breeder side of hogs, and so this is certainly not the only one they've produced that had a good day.
I knew that America sow was in one of these two. I messed up on the first one. I was thinking the first Reese livestock sow. Went back to that sow, but she did raise that reserve bear at Houston last year. So Valerie's getting it done again.
How do you pronounce your first name? All right, lot 30 brings in a young lady. I just had to ask her how to pronounce her first name. Emina Castillo from Maverick County 4-H. Her pig is out of a sire called Dirtbag on a curtain call sow. Don't have any breeder information here, but this one looks like a sow. Well, hold on a second. We are going to get some breeder information. Okay, we got quite a bit of information from Third Day Genetics. Dirtbag is at Wynn, Texas. Curtain call visionary sow. Dam had a class winner, class champion last year in San Antonio. Reserve champion at Florida Youth Livestock Expo. So got some history here. Just looks like one that looks like a brood sow to me. Here again, front pasture kind of sow with an enormous rib cage, enormous center body. I mean, she's honestly probably deeper at her flank sometimes than she is in her forerib, and she's not shallow in her forerib there either, down in her heart. You know, another one that has presence out in front of her blade with a big old stout tail on her. A very, very neat breeding piece here that hits a large window from a boar mating perspective. I think one of those gilts that it's a little further down here in the sale, but offers a lot of quality here yet.
Yeah, we talked about those Brenning genetics and program there earlier. For those of you that use curtain call, if you study this gilt's head, the way she's assembled and designed right there, she screams curtain call, and you know what that means in terms of what it says about her blade and chest for natural mass and spread. I would encourage you, you know, Brett, one of the best things we ever did, there was a 3rd place gilt at the down at Belton in the Spotted Show one year that a girl had, and it wasn't as highly fitted, didn't place as well in the show, and that gilt went on to produce about $50,000 or $60,000 worth of spot pigs, and she had champion reserve breeds at OYE, Fort Worth, and the Indiana State Fair. And so what I tell you guys, they're not smart. I was lucky. Study the hogs throughout the sale order, okay? He placed them the way he needed to for the show, but buy hogs. I'm telling you guys, whoever lands on this gilt will not be sorry. There's some awesome breeding pieces, and to make her that stout, that attractive from the side, and still clean in her joints and comfortable, there's a lot of breeding value in this gilt, and so she is where she is in the sale, but it'll be interesting to see who does her homework. That's one I'd be more than happy to go home and breed on.
Lot 31 brings us a solid white gilt from Madison Carmichael. San Patricio FFA, there's been a few of those in here, with a wham on a wedding night from Lidner again. I think a gilt that from a breeding piece perspective, obviously in this part of the country, you know, it seems like when we sell hogs in the fall, just conversations with people customers that come to buy hogs from us, you know, they'll always ask, where do I need to go from here? Or what? And I ask, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for solid white Yorkshire barrows. And man, it just seems like that never goes out of style, like they're always on demand. And this one looks like one that can manufacture them at a high level. but that is I'm not a big hair guy, to be real honest with you, but the skin and hair on this thing is very good. She's got a big old woolly, dense tail on her, really round cage and a tall shoulder. I mean, this one looks like she could make next level white barras that can win barra shows to me. I think the density to her hind leg and just the way her hip and stifle's laid in her is very, very good.
Absolutely. This one's not meant to make skinny little pigs. I mean, that density you're talking about, and she matches it, right? Her blade, her forearm, look at the shape to her forearm, her stout mug that she has, and still slick jawed. Is she the most balanced? Is she the most of these things middle of the road? No, that's not what she is. We're talking about buying hogs to breed on. This one's breeding value, for all the things that Brett shared with you, very, very high. There's some unique breeding opportunities there.
If you guys are pedigree studiers, Wham is making some changes in this white exotic deal, raised by Ham there in Oklahoma, owned by Blunt and Linder, and this hog is doing some really, really neat things. Everybody's, like Brett said, everybody's looking for white exotics to make Yorkshire barras. That's a no-brainer. If you count like this one with all the different extras, the bells and whistles this one brings to the table are really, really unique.
Okay, Kenley Davis is going to bring us lot 32 here next from Joshua FFA. Bred by Nelson and Rushing. This is a next play blurred vision visionary. So, and not knowing just tons and tons about crossbred pedigrees, that probably makes sense to me just watching this thing walk out the gate. Man, this thing, I think I might even said it in the show yesterday, if you prop her up on the backdrop, she is going to take a very, very good picture. Once again, here's another one of those that's very, very tall fronted and has an enormous back in her. When you get up on top of her, there's a lot of spread and a lot of shape there. And that's the kind of spread and shape it takes to make those elite barras. For having a target marked hip, you just look at that hip. That hip is long, it's level, and it's very, very square. She's just square would be a one-word term I would use to portray this gilt. I mean, every angle you look at her, she is very, very square. A gilt that doesn't look like she's quite mature yet to me. When it's all said and done, I think she's still got gas in the tank to go, another few more weeks or a month here, and her best days are probably yet to come. But from a breeding piece standpoint, this is one of those that looks like a generator to me.
Yeah, I agree. From any perspective, you'd call that one square. And I would say if you think this gilt's attributes and her pieces aren't valuable or unique, then just go home and try to recreate them and put them into that kind of package. And I think when you really look at it from that perspective, you start to see where this gilt's real value could be.
I received more text messages and calls on this one yesterday than any gilt in the barn. This one took an incredible on video. People were just responding, man, what's that white belted thing? What's that? And so I know the Nelson Rushing program. I helped market some pigs in the fall for him. We actually sold some Lindermate barras early in September. That next play deal has been very, very good. Really study this one here.
Okay, lot 33 is Claire Carriger from B County 4-H. Brings us one from Chad Decker in Indiana. Quite frankly, Anchorman Blurred Vision. Okay. Description from the online sale. Tricked Out's aunt. This sow is one of the very best sows. She is the mother of Varner's Grand Overall Gilt at the Breeders' Cup in 2022 that was also Reserve Light Cross at OYE. This sow has had some far-reaching pieces of any individual we have ever made. This sow is Green's gilt that won several shows the summer of 2019, was a division-winning gilt at the Indiana State Fair, and was the 5th overall gilt at the North American, and is also a maternal sister to Tricked Out's mom. Simply put, this sow line is proving to be absolute generators, and that's coming from the man himself, Chad Decker, in his write-up when they bought this particular gilt. another one here that's not for the faint of heart. This is one to me that is a better breeding piece almost than she is a show gilt. I mean, she might be as wide from end to end and still stay square as anything that's come through here today. This thing's got a stout mug as she comes right at you. She looks like a herd boar maker. There's nothing about this gilt that does not read stout, from the tip of her nose to the tip of her tail. And to maintain that kind of flexibility with that kind of rib cage, this one looks like a boar maker to me. Looks like she's going to make expensive baby pigs come fall, you know, whatever the case may be. I think this one's obviously got a very, very good pedigree from a great breeder and a great human being, but got an immense amount of value in the farrowing crate.
And clearly, she's up here because of the quality, and you recognize this. All the things you said were right. The other thing that's impressive when you step behind her. Now she's on the corners. Let's get this straight, right? There's nothing skinny or narrow here, but that Gilt's comfort and consistency with her hock placement from behind, she never wavers, right? She just doesn't. That Gilt doesn't miss a beat. Brett nailed it. This one's not for the faint of heart, but she is for the ones who are trying to make big time hogs, do big time things in the show ring. Nice job, young lady. That's one of the unique breeding pieces of the entire offering.
Okay, Miss Brianna Noland is coming in next with lot 34 from Stephenville FFA. I'm a player on the rocks from Rising Star Genetics. The second blue gilt in the offering here today, and here again, one that covers the basics very, very well. This one keeps you out of the ditch, no matter what year you're in. This is just good livestock. You know, one of those that you maybe breed to the tricked outs or the ones that have those extra tricked out pieces, and just makes good stock year in and year out. I mean, function off of both ends of her skeleton is very good. You know, her looks good. Her rib cage is tremendous. Just looks like one of those that's going to lay down and have a litter of pigs without you being around. And yeah, like Dave's saying, she's got that big ring swoop in her belly right there like she needs to in her underline. So just good stock here. I'll see what Dave has to say.
Yeah, if you're not into the Facebook post of pulling baby pigs, if that's not your thing, then you probably ought to pay attention. Talking about just the ones that you just breed on and they just make you money, right? They're the kind, and again, you see it in all species, whether it's sheep or you see it in registered cattle or something. You've always got the big time show heifer, and then you've got a flush mate sister, or you got a skinnier production cow out there. This is the kind you breed. They're high sellable, right? We all want to sell the $10,000 baby pig. And I get it. But what do you do with the other 5, 6, 7, or 8 in the litter? To me, where this one's so good and unique, you get this one bred. She's the one that maybe never sells the $10,000 pig, but she sells you 6, 7, or 8 that are all good, and you put them in good homes, and then all of a sudden, well, the green one, right, the third best one in the litter at 40 pounds, just pops. And she just makes you money, she generates, and she gets up and down in the crates, and she just does what hogs are supposed to do.
Okay, next up, Wyatt Ludicky from DeWitt County 4-H. Brings us another Brennan gilt here, a sunset on a secret weapon. And just like we said earlier, this one looks like a Shane Brennan gilt. Looks like she's plenty dense from end to end. Probably even just a nickel stouter featured than the one that was in here previous from Mr. Brennan. But one that's got a tremendous amount of spread from end to end. Got a neat kind of color pattern on her. Just a dense animal with a big back and a real big pin set like Dave was talking there earlier. I think, you know, one of those that just looks like she can make the next generation better. Looks like a generator from a sow perspective.
Yeah, easy breeding kind of deal here. Again, if you're in tail root, looks like a hedge post coming up out of her spine, guys. I mean, that thing is stout and burly in every way. Just kind of an easy one to breed on right there. I think a lot of breeding value, again, from a program needs no more introduction.
Okay, got a couple left here. Morgan Wilson is bringing in lot 36 from Parent FFA. A right blend on a Prince from TP Show Pigs. And here again, another lightweight gilt that looks like she's got some good days in front of her. I mean, does not look like she's hit her ceiling yet. just covers the basics of everything I was looking for yesterday in terms of balance and proportions. I mean, front feet are good, rear legs good. Just everything balances with this female. I mean, just one of those that you can probably close your eyes and breed her to whatever boar you want, and you're just going to make better stock.
Brad, you can appreciate this on surface, or those chips when you're judging one and they go right away from you and they're boogieing so good and they're so comfortable they flip chips at you when they go away. There's only one way they can do that, guys. They got to have the agility and flexibility to do so. And this is one boy, she flips them at you every time you get behind her. She's ready to roll.
Just a little pedigree digging here. Right blends a boar that is at Kevin Thomas's. He's from Farnham, from Logan. So he probably goes back to the visionary sow, I'm assuming. But the sow is a Prince reroute that came from Swinhogan, came from the Rival bunch. And if you know much about the Rival program, man, they put it together for years. And so there's a really unique pedigree on this one. That one can go.
Yeah, she definitely shows you the base or the bottom of her pad when she leaves you, and that's a pretty neat thing. Okay, Tanner Morse is in with final lot 37s from Giddings FFA. From Lidner Show Pigs, yet another one here. I think he's had several. Pedigree is Snafu on a never before. So first Snafu we've had in here today. That was a hog that I seen a lot of pigs out of there last spring. Went out to a sale in Sioux Falls and seen a lot of interesting. Judge Minnesota and seen some more of them there this past summer. Just looks like kind of a neat breeding piece. I mean, a tall-shouldered, angular gilt that here again I think keeps you out of the ditch. I think a gilt that just offers a lot of quality when it's all said and done, and just blends it so well from front to rear. I mean, we've got 37 of these things in the sale here, guys. They're all 37 worth owning, in my opinion, if you're looking to make better crossbred pigs, and they've brought them to you in a fashion where feet and legs are good. The foundation is laid. You just got to select the boars you want to breed them to, and I think you're gonna be happy with your results in the end.
Yes, and this is it's a great point he brings up, and I remember when you did that, this is the only fourth place gilt that made the sale, and I think that's a testimonial. I think that's a very good point that you brought up, but again, there's 30, 37, 38 of these things that we'll go through for the sale, and I don't have the official numbers, but there were 15 classes of crossbred gilts yesterday, and so you're probably in that 650 to 750 range, and there's only a handful, 37 or 38 of these things that you're going to have a chance to buy. So kudos to the sale committee. Kudos, Mr. Brett Byers done a fantastic job, just ultra consistent from start to finish, and great with the young people yesterday. Put us together a high quality set of these gilts to offer you, and just plumb excited to have the chance to sit behind a microphone at 1 o'clock today and get these gilts traded on behalf of these kids and to you breeders. So reach out to us if we can help you anyway. Again, online bidding options will be through SaleRing.live. If you've got folks at home want to bid on the internet, make sure they get registered. If you just want to follow the sale, you can do that there as well. You don't have to register to follow along, just to hop on and watch the sale. But if you do plan on bidding and buying, make sure you get on and get approved.